Okay, I'm having to re-record this video because for some reason the audio cut out on the previous one 50-something seconds in. So, yeah, re-recording it. So, in this video I'm just going to be having a bit more of a discussion about the upcoming B&M sets and that, since I've had time to discuss it with some friends and that, and I've also, had time to have a better look at it. So, a lot of this will probably end up being in my review when I do eventually get my hands on the figures, but here's just some things I've noticed, just from the pictures, and this may change when having the figure in hand. So, the first thing to note when we're going to talk about Emperor Davos, because there's a few things to talk about him. So, number one is, this figure, for the most part, is unpainted. Yeah, this is just moulded in white plastic with stuff like the hemispheres and the other sort of bronze-type gold bands and that painted on. Which is good and bad. There's positive and negative to it. The positive is that, particularly on the dome and on the hinge here, it means since there's no paint on there, there's no paint to crack off, because that was a problem on the original release as well as easily, it easily getting marked or scuffed. So that is, a good thing there. The bad thing is that it doesn't look, it isn't quite the sort of ivory, white that it should be. In fact, it's a little bit closer to what the Necros Daleks and that should be. So, yeah, that's the disadvantage there. And also, this picture is the unphotoshopped version, because a lot of the publicity images, you might notice, and I did a video on this, where there's Photoshop bits here, here, and here, around there, and you can see little sort of black dots on that. They're not scuffs, though. What those are basically imperfections in the plastic, which, especially when it's white plastic, it's just inevitable. You might get lucky and get none, you might be unlucky and get a few, but they're barely noticeable. But, it is just something that can't be helped, especially when it's unpainted. So, yeah, that's basically the pros, and cons. You won't have flaky plastic, but you may have imperfections and the colour isn't quite 100% there. Though, again, I imagine this is also done for a budgetary reason, at least I hope it is. Just like with the TARDISes, they're not being painted, and that they're just given a wash. Same with Davros' head. Now, with Davros' head, it's very hard to tell whether this is a painted head, or whether it's just moulded in that colour and given a wash over the top, and then just painted detail like the mouth and the eyes and that. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Obviously, if it is painted, then there you go. But I think it might not be. I'm pretty sure it's actually not painted, and that's just a wash over the top, which works on Davros, and I'll tell you why it doesn't work generally on the human or more humanoid characters, in that basically when you're doing a flesh tone, it really doesn't work when just moulding the plastic that colour and then maybe putting some wash over it or something. But since it's Davros and it's a mask, it works a lot better. It's really hard to tell which one it is. So yeah, something that isn't quite as good, though, the wires around his head are just moulded in red plastic, which would be fine, but they're a little bit too bright. Admittedly, they're better than those bright yellow wires and that they had previously, and since they're not painted, they can, be a little bit thinner, and that they appear a bit thinner than they were before, since they don't have to be painted. Also, something of note, behind Davros and that, you can see the back of, the dome inside is sort of that, gold sort of bronze colour. Whereas on the original release, it was black. And it actually should be the bronze colour, so that is an improvement. That is an improvement over the original. Wasn't a major thing, because most of the time you couldn't really see it because it was really dark inside there. So, but that is the case. I've checked on the actual, proper natural images and that, and yeah, that is the case. Now, in terms of the wiring, I initially thought that only a few of the wires were painted and the rest were just left black, but as you can see on this higher resolution image, you see that all the other wires have just been painted grey, which is interesting, or printed on grey. I would have thought maybe do a few more different colours on that on there, but at least I'd say this looks better than the original release where the paint varied, or printing, however it's done. It varied a lot and it looked a lot messier. At least this looks a lot more clean and precise and that. So generally I do prefer it in that regard. Now speaking of the dome here, around the eye, you can see on this one again, it's that sort of gold bronze type colour on this release. However, on the original release, it was black, which, you know, again, it's an Alduar changing something for the sake of something. It should be black, not this bronze colour. So, yeah, I don't know why that was the case. Basically, why it was changed to that, because it's not really like a money-saving measure, because, again, black paint is used in that on Davos and that himself, so, yeah, I don't know why that was. Maybe it was an oversight, but it shouldn't be that colour, it should be black. Thankfully, something like that, though, is a semi-easy fix. It's a very fiddly fix, but it's, you know, if it does bother you in that, you can easily fix it. I'd suggest maybe going over it with some sort of marker pen, rather than maybe trying to paint it, because it would be a very fiddly thing to do. But overall, pretty positive in that on Davos for the most part. And that, I'd say, you know, we've got some improvements in that. I'd say the head overall, big improvement that on the original, like the head itself and everything, and the fact that, you know, this is getting released at B&M very soon. They're meant to start showing up from the 23rd of September at the earliest. But obviously, you know, normally for me, since I live up north, it's normally a week later by the time they come up here. So, yeah, obviously, we'll see how it is in that in person. Now, here's the thing I wanted to really talk about. The Resurrection of the Dalek sect, which, yeah, this is an interesting thing. Because obviously, you know, most are just going, oh my god, Emperor Davos, which me included, and it's like, oh yeah, I do like Resurrection as well. But anyway, this is a screenshot from Gallifrey Customs' review of the Dalek set. And you can see the shoulders, the slats on his, are just left grey. He even mentions this in the video. And basically he wondered whether it was a factory error or not, or whether they're all going to be like that. Now there's two things. At the time I thought maybe it's because it's an early sample copy and that, or maybe it is a factory error. However, we have heard in the grapevine from Alduar hinting, and take this all with a grain of salt, that there will be, and I really hope this isn't the case, or what he's mentioning, there'll be a chase variant of the Resurrection set. Which, if that is the case, it could mean that, you know, one of them has the sort of silvery, which it's meant to be white, but it's more of a silvery here, at least, mesh between the slats, and the other variant is going to be this. I've also heard rumours that, you know, one of them is going to have the orangey red type dome lights, and as the chase variant. And the thing is, I've got two problems with this. One is, it being a chase variant means basically there's no guarantee that I'll be able to get it. And the second problem with that, because, you know, we don't know how many there'll be. The second problem is, I don't know whether to look for it or not, because I don't know if it is a real thing or not. Now, it could mean that it could be like with the 5 Doctors set from a few years back, where it's like a 50-50 split, where half of them are regular Cyberman, the other are the Cyber Leader. That could be the case. But again, we don't know. We only got confirmation of what the case was with the 5 Doctor set because of Batman March, because he got his, so his was a regular Cyberman, and so other people were getting Cyber Leaders, and asked Alduar if it was a factory error or not, and Alduar told him. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have told. We probably wouldn't have known until they came into stores, but at least that was 50-50, so you had a good chance of getting both. But again, it is random. It is random what store gets them. Like, if it is a Chase variant, again, who knows how many of them are. You could have a store that gets nothing but Chase variants, and no other stores across the country get any. Or it could just, the most annoying thing is when I go out to get these sets, and I do eventually get them, which should be a lot easier, because there's only 2 of them. The problem I have is that, normally when I get them, it's just like, okay, done, great. I normally get as many as, I normally get a few in one go. I normally get to army builds in one go, and then that's it, done, great. However, since I don't know that, I can't just go, okay, they've got them, great, I've got them now. I have to then, unless someone else has gotten them and shown them up beforehand, and shown that, yeah, there are different ones to get in store, I then have to go bloody searching around, B&Ms and that for ages, trying to find the other if I even can. It's also like last year, apparently there was a few factory error Death Zone Daleks that had just a regular black gun and didn't have the red tip in them, which made me go out again and look, and I couldn't find any in my area, so I'm assuming it was only a small amount. I'm glad that these do have the red tips and that on them there. Why the Necros ones didn't have it, don't know, because they should. But yeah, something I should also mention here is the balls on the end of the eyes on these 2 Daleks, which, contrary to popular belief, they do use the same eye stalks as the previous releases. They're just painted up slightly differently. But they shouldn't be glossy. Like, you can either do them in like a proper matte finish or maybe a satin finish and get away with it. But they shouldn't be glossy. They shouldn't be glossy. So I'll say that right here and now. But, yeah, I just want to know. Like, the thing is, Algerard treats the figure sex like their episodes of Doctor Who where, you have to give enough, like, to tease the audience to bring them in. And that, that works for, like, a TV show or a film. But when you're selling a product, when you're selling figures, people want to know everything about them. Like, you're trying to sell them as much as possible. Like, you're meant to sell them to people and tell them everything that they need to know. Like, if there is a Chase variant, and it is a proper Chase variant, it's not 50-50, it's like a rare variant, at least I want to know about it, because otherwise, myself and a lot of other people, may not just, like, a lot of people just may not know about it to look out for it or not. But I want to know either way. Like, again, this all could be complete bollocks, and hopefully it will be, but it's Alduar, who knows. And the fact that we're only getting 4 sets this year, it could be something that is happening, but yeah, I just want it to be clear. Like, if it's a 50-50 split, okay, that's manageable. Like, I should be able to find a B&M, hopefully with 2ing, because there's tons of B&Ms where I live. Obviously, if you're down south, you're less fortunate. But up here in the northeast of England, we've got B&Ms coming out of our ears, so it should be likely I find one, and that, but others may not. But regardless, if that's the case, okay, at least it's 50-50, like, it's more obtainable. But if it's a Chase variant, depending on how many there are, and again, they'll be randomised, you might get a store that has, like, there might be one store in the entire country that gets all of them, and nowhere else gets them. Because again, it could be random, so... Yeah, this is just... God. If Davos is, by the way, because I'm hearing more and more about him being $12.99. Obviously, we won't know until he comes into store. Although there's the product code, though. I think it'll be for me. I'm not going to bother try hunting him until I see them appear down south. But if he is $12.99, he is an absolute bargain. The only reason I can think of he might be $12.99 is because Emperor Davos mostly is a rotocast figure. Like, obviously, the skirt, this section here and that, and the back side of the dome and that, all top side of the dome, all one piece. The lower section there. And then just the dome bit with the lid and that, and Davos himself, and the base screws on to that, so he's mostly a rotocast figure. That might be why. Because Daleks are very expensive because there's a lot of parts in them. And they also have a lot of screws in them. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws. No, 9 screws. Sorry, 9. I was forgetting the ones that hold the ball joints in. Excuse me. No, that's a lie. Not 9. It's 11. 12 screws. I got there in the end. Yeah, Daleks are held together with 12 screws, plus a metal rod that holds the eye in place on its pivot. So yeah, 12 screws, plus a metal rod. And then obviously all these other sections which are separate. The next section, the neck rings and everything. The slacks, the gun, the plunger, the ball joints. The fender and that, and obviously it's in 2 halves that go together, and the front bits as well. They're designed to be modular. They're designed to be modular, for things to be swapped out and that, so you can have the same sort of basic mold for most, or if not all, the classic Daleks, and swap bits here and there. That's why it's made that way. It's made very modular. But that's basically the reason why they're more expensive. But yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna remember something after this video that I've forgotten. But, other than that, like the Resurrection set, I'm pretty happy with. And I don't think I agree, like, again, with the glossy eye, the ball at the end of the eye being glossy. Like, if you want to fix it, it's a very easy fix. Just get some clear matte spray paint rather than clear gloss and spray that. Will I bother doing that? No, probably not. It's not worth it. It's not a major thing. It's not a major thing. It's not like it's the wrong colour or something like that. And since it's just the ball at the end of the eye, not the most major thing. But yeah, I will say though, he has gone again overboard with the scuffing at the end, which he gives it a silver finish, which it shouldn't have, for one. And 2, they don't really have that, like, nowhere near to this extent. So, yeah, like, for the most part, like, that bottom section is usually, it's one of two it's usually either rubber, or in other cases, like in Day of the Daleks, it's a section that goes round a swimming pool to cover it up. But neither the actual bit of the fender, which again is fiberglass, or the rubber bit, which is all metal. But yeah, that's my first sort of initial thoughts on that, and now that I've had time to sort of think it over. But yeah, I'm hoping it will not be a headache to get, especially since it's 2 sets. Though, from what I've been hearing, the numbers are half of what they were last year. Right. From what I've heard. Like, there's only going to be half as many made as last year. Whereas last year they although we got rid of 3 packs apart from one, they doubled the amount of Daleks. This year, apparently, they've halved it again and gone back to what they were doing before. So, don't know. I do know, though, there's going to be 6 Davroses per box, and supposedly there's going to be 6 Daleks per box. I don't know if that'll be the case. I've got a feeling it might be 12. If that is the case, then it more likely is double with that. But Davroses, 6 per box. Obviously, a B&M could get multiple boxes, but they'll probably only get one initially and then hopefully build up. But yeah, obviously, he's going to be the figure to get. But that's it for this. So, yeah.